Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's good to see you all this morning, to see some new faces, to see some returning faces. I hope I'll have a chance to catch up with all of you in the Kiddush. In an era where challenges to our identity, there are incredible challenges at this time. How do we, as Jews, demonstrate our unwavering faith and pride? As antisemitism rises and global tensions surround Israel, we face a choice. It's not a difficult choice. We can hide in fear, or we can stand tall. We can celebrate our traditions and embrace the richness of our heritage. Or, well, I don't have to tell you what the or is, you know it. Today, I want to spend a few minutes to delve into the heart of this profound dilemma. And a dilemma it is, of how embracing our Jewish identity can be a beacon of hope among the extreme darkness that is upon us now. And I want to start with this philosophical and rhetorical question. And that is, what does it mean to be Jewish? Now, I'm not asking this question for any halachic answers on the definition of who is a Jew. I'm not asking this question as a way of defining a person's religious practices either. I'm asking this question in the following context. How do we demonstrate that we are Jewish, specifically today, with Israel in the midst of an existential war, most probably a long, drawn-out war, and with antisemitism at an all-time high? How do we, both as individual Jews and as a community, demonstrate our Jewishness? And at the same time, it's also fair to ask, are there now ways in which we should hide our Jewish identity because of fear and because of recriminations? There's a very real conflict in our community as to whether we should continue to celebrate our Judaism publicly or go silent due to what's going on in Israel. I've been asked to try to settle the debates on whether or not, particularly this past week, whether or not Jewish homes who usually do Halloween, for example, should do them this week, or it was last week actually, do them last week. In a year when there's so much going on in Israel. It's a true machloket. It's a true argument, worthy of the greatest Talmudic debates. But unlike those Talmudic debates, this is not hypothetical. It's a very real dilemma that we face. On the one hand, there are those who say, no, we must not do anything this year to show our support for Israel. We mustn't do anything that shows publicly that we are Jewish. But others feel, as I do, that when we said never again all these years, we meant never again. And that means not cowering to what's going on. Not cowering to the Palestinians, not cowering to Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran. We should continue living the way we would normally do, even if we might pare down what we do, is a sign of support. And that is what I want to stress this morning. Still acknowledging Halloween, for example. Still having B'nai Mitzvah. You know, we had a big bar mitzvah here last Saturday night. The families thought about paring it down. I said, no way. We've got B'nai Mitzvah, large B'nai Mitzvah coming up over the next month. Families were thinking about paring down weddings. No way. After all, the soldiers of the IDF are taking the time to get married too. They're still observing Shabbat to its fullest in what we need to be doing right now. I don't know if you saw the video clip yesterday, just before Shabbat, of the chayalim, of the soldiers in their tank. And they took off the bottle, or the cap to a little bottle of wine, and they made kiddush inside the tank. Incredible, very moving. They're still observing Shabbat to its fullest. And so should we observe Shabbat to its fullest in what we need to be doing right now. We need to demonstrate to ourselves, our community, and to the world at large that we are Jewish and that we are not going to cower in the face of those who try to terrorize us or condemn us. We meant when we say, and we've said, never again. And I want to make this point very clear as well. It is not a denial of the situation in Israel by doing so. It is not a betrayal of Israel. It is not letting Israel down, but rather it's helping Israel by us leading as normal lives as possible. Yes, the impact of what's going on in Israel has caused tremendous psychological problems in our communities. But if we can celebrate a little bit, I think we should be. And I don't think in any way that it denigrates our support for Israel. We had a huge rally. We had 2 rallies here in support of Israel. And we should never stop doing that. And here's something else to consider. Holidays like Halloween. We have Hanukkah coming up. We have Purim coming up. These are holidays that they should be supported and celebrated like you've never done before. Think about the historic reasoning for coming into place in the first being. These holidays are all about the kids. We as Jewish adults have the weight of the world on our shoulders, but the kids, they should be allowed to be kids. They should be allowed to enjoy their innocence and the fun that comes with these celebrations. We shouldn't deprive them of these Jewish experiences, because you know what? If we do deprive them of these experiences, they won't have Jewish experiences to draw upon when they're not children. A friend of mine sent this to me. He says, I keep saying to people who ask me about Halloween or other things relating to celebrating that Israel and Israelis would want us to stand loud and stand proud and not give in to terror. I know not everyone feels that way, but I know, and I do, and I know that you understand it, Rabbi. This sentiment was also echoed by an IDF spokesperson who said how important it is and how supported they feel when the Jewish community in diaspora continues to be Jewish in everything that they do and supporting Israel in both word and in deed, and that we do not cower ever. What are they putting their lives on the line for if we're going to cower at the slightest bit of a march, a Palestinian march, or because we're worried about somebody's going to egg our house? Yes, we acknowledge the situation. We recite special prayers for Israel, for the hostages, for Tzahal. We have a Let's Talk luncheon program with a therapist where you can come and talk over lunch about your feelings, your fears, your emotions. Because when we say never again, it must also mean not hiding in fear, not stopping to live our regular lives as well as our Jewish lives. But I want you to remember that we must never ever do anything, whether in support of Israel or to demonstrate our Jewish identity, that would ever place us in danger. You know why? Because the Torah doesn't allow it. So what else can we do? What else must we do? Remember, this is not the 1930s or the 1940s. We don't need to be silent. We can speak out. It's not the governments that are coming for us, knocking on the doors, dragging us out of our homes. We can act, and we will. We must not remain silent when confronted with antisemitism or anti-Zionism. By the way, there's no difference between the two, okay, just in case somebody tries to separate the two. We must not remain silent on Holocaust denial, demeaning Holocaust analogies, or anything else that disparages us or places our community in jeopardy. We must have a very strong public expression of our Jewish identity. We need to be proud of and demonstrate our Jewish faith and heritage because it is that Jewish identity, our never-wavering Jewish identity, that serves as the best answer to those who hate us. I want to give you an example. There's a gentleman by the name of Jeff Cohen. Now, to most of you, that won't mean anything. But Jeff Cohen was one of 4 congregants who were held hostage in Collierville, Texas, in January 2022. And he says that as a result of his experience, he didn't know whether he was going to live or die. But as a result of his experience, he wears his yarmulke now more often in public than less. He says, I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to allow myself to disappear because I do want to challenge other good people to stand up and say no. Because you know, if you don't know the other at all, it's easy to believe all the stereotypes, all of the rumors, all of the conspiracy theories. He emphasized how critical it is to educate and to speak out when you hear or you see something that conjures up tropes against Jews or any prejudice for that matter. Who and what are we? We're Jews. And as Jews, we must know that the best response to anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish hate is a renewed sense of our Jewish identity and Jewish pride, based on our willingness and our ability to defend ourselves in an era where there is a Jewish state of Israel. If the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto could live their Judaism, study, have Shabbat services, find ways of lighting candles for Shabbat, and we in Canada, in the comfort of our homes in Coates and Luke and Hampstead, what are we worried about here? We're in an era where there is a Jewish state of Israel. And in our confidence that Jews need to live in fear in this country? What nonsense is that? And that is why, as much as the pogroms, the murders, and the kidnappings, and the global day of jihad are threats to kill Jews anywhere, are revolting, they're repugnant, they should be even more reason for Jews to show up and be counted by joining synagogues and other Jewish organizations and participating more frequently in various Jewish activities and events. I read an article out of Europe this week where synagogues across Europe are experiencing much higher turnouts on Shabbat since all this business with Israel started, since this war started. Jeff Cohen is not the only example of how we can and we should exhibit our Jewish identity. We can do so too, and we will. Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt is the special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism in the United States. She now wears a gold Star of David necklace, which she didn't do before. She said that she started wearing it so that her Jewish identity was more readily known. And she did so particularly when the anti-Semitic attack started to rise. She says, I can walk into a room and someone might not know I'm Jewish. I don't want that to happen. I want everybody to know that I'm Jewish. And with the rise of anti-Semitism, I want to say loud and clear, Anochi. Here I am. This is who I am. So I'm asking you to make sure that you do something, anything, even if only one little thing, to make your Jewish identity stand out. Attend shul. We have services every day, twice a day. Don't be ashamed. Don't be quiet. Speak out, act up, listen and learn. And then share what you learn. If you can change one mind, that's all you need to do is change one mind. You've helped the cause. In response to Hamas or Islamic Jihad or anywhere else, we need not be silenced by the depraved hatred of the anti-Semites. But we need to be part of the Jewish community because together we are stronger. We need to show publicly to the world that we stand up in pride and we are not afraid. We need to continue to openly and publicly practice our faith. We need to continue to show our pride in being Jewish, that these incidents will not stop us from that. We won't hide. We won't cower. And we will not be driven away from our synagogues, from our communities, and all the events that normally go on. So be strong, be proud of your Jewish identity. Whatever path you choose, make it a pillar in your life. And don't just leave your Judaism at the door of the synagogue when you leave here today. And then pick it back up again the next time you come here. Whether it be tomorrow or next week. Take it home with you. Keep it with you at all times and make it a central part of who you are. I promise you, you will feel a lot better for it. And you won't miss out on any other aspect of your life. In fact, it will actually make your life more meaningful and fulfilling. Unfortunately, today, I've spoken about the negative part of being Jewish. A part we would have thought in 2023 we wouldn't have to deal with anymore. Yes, we might have to fight hate that surrounds us. But our Jewish identities cannot be solely about what others think of us. In the face of the issues which confront us, it is also important for us as Jews not to define ourselves only as opponents of hate, but as proponents of a rich, beautiful, cultural, religious, and intellectual heritage, one that Satan refuses to acknowledge. We must remember all the joy that there is in Judaism. Not just the oi, but the joy. And let's put the joy back in oi. So have Shabbat dinners, celebrate Simchat Torah, Chanukah, Purim, Pesach, come to a minyan. Happens twice a day. You can even do so from the comfort of your home if you want. I don't recommend it, but you can. Read a Jewish book, see a Jewish movie, develop a closer relationship with your fellow congregants, your neighbors, who knows? It just might lead to a closer relationship with God. And finally, in conclusion, Michael Twitty, who you may have heard of. Michael Twitty is a black Jewish culinary historian and author of Kosher Soul. In what he called 50 Joys of Jewish, he tweeted that in a world where non-Jews are always trying to tell me who I am, I remind myself, and I'll remind you too, we are 100 blessings a day, and we will always try to be lights flickering against the darkness that tries to consume us. That is Judaism. That is why, despite the efforts over the years of those who've tried to destroy us and our religion, we're still here. So be proud of and exhibit your Jewish identity, especially if for no other reason, if you want to exist for your children, grandchildren, and succeeding generations. Shabbat Shalom.